guys, it's Michelle at Pilates Connection, and this is Betsy, and this is Joe, watching over our shoulders here, named in honor of Joseph Pilates. Joseph Pilates created an exercise method that he called controlology, and we loved sharing controlology here. Today I want to give some tidbits to my fellow horseback riders. This is information that all of you can use, and it's actually foundational movements that we use in Pilates every single day. But I love to apply it to my horse because, wow, that's so fun. So, sitting nice and tall on an exercise ball, you want to make sure that your knees are not above your hips or this will not work. We're going to start with breathing. So open your feet just a little wider than your shoulders, and we're going to start to breathe in through your nose and out through a relaxed mouth. Now, as you inhale, I want you to send the air into the back of your rib cage. Good, and think of pulling the air down under your belly button. And then as you exhale, you're going to feel, there's actually with the tension on the ball, you can feel the soft lift of your pelvic floor, and then the engagement of your abs. And it's like putting on a tight vest where it zips up until the air rolls over the roof of your mouth through the front of your teeth. So as you inhale, breathing into the back of your rib cage, you want to feel like you pull that air under your belly button, and you will feel your pelvic floor move down if it's functioning properly. And then on the exhale, it pulls up. So pelvic floor connection to the alignment of your pelvic bones and your spine is critical for a horseback rider. We are sitting on 1,000 and more pounds of beautifully moving muscle, and if we cannot center ourselves, we cannot expect them to be centered either. So feeling that connection at the base of your pelvis, your seat, is important. As we're sitting here, Betsy and I are very aware of the fact that both of our sits bones, your ischial tuberosities, and the very bottom of your pubic bone make the triangle of your seat. Good. So just breathing and feeling that and gaining that awareness is a wonderful exercise to use. We're going to start to move slightly, and when I say slightly, I mean really slightly. We're looking to move the sacrum and SI joints. So we're going to keep our feet fairly still, and then on our exhale, we're going to tuck our tailbone under, and then on your inhale, you're going to tip your tailbone out. Good. So moving so small that you haven't affected your rib cage yet. Okay, so the ribs are staying still, and the tailbone is moving back and forth. Good. So when we think of that alignment, what's happening is that you're staying even over both of your sits bones, and your SI joints are opening and closing, right? Creating a nice foundational movement for a flowing spine. Good. Now remember that if you do this too big and you start to just drop your ribs behind your vertical, you have turned off your abs, right? And you're hanging on your low back and coming right back up again, so don't do that. Now we're going to start to move our pelvis in a different direction. So you're going to imagine your tailbone like a dog's tail, and I want you to tip it to one side and then the other side, right? Wag your tail from side to side. That means that one side of your hip is going to come up closer to your rib as the other side lengthens. Good, and again, small, okay? It doesn't have to be a big thing. We're looking to adjust the micro movements to create an efficiency in your movement. Good, and you'll notice that one side works better than the other. We all have one. Good, and then coming back to the center again. Now we're going to do a little rotation of the spine, and again, this is a small movement. The first time I do it, I'm going to do it big enough that you can really see it, and then I'm going to refine it. So we're going to reach one leg forward, and this is going to think of my belly button through my inner thigh, right? Reaching out as the other side contracts and pulls in, and my pelvis is now rotated facing the right. And then I'm going to rotate my pelvis left. Right, now I'm doing it big enough and you can see that my ribs are having to respond, right? My whole body is shifting. I'm going to go back and make it nice and small so that I can keep my ribs still and just create, again, an ease of movement in my pelvis. Or maybe find where my restriction is and then come back to the center. Good. Now, you're going to take your pelvis through the full range of motion. So I want you to think of making a big circle with your tailbone under you while maintaining some stability through those ribs. Good. Keep breathing. Keep your spine nice and long. And then circle the other way. Good. one thing that comes up, if you notice my legs, when you tip your tailbone to one side, your leg bones shift position, right? Your feet have to shift position. Your whole body has to shift position because your sacrum is your sacred stone. It's what lines everything up. So you can see I'm actually gripping on my left foot, and my right foot has begun to roll up, right? And then the other way. So if your pelvis is stuck in one particular direction, your legs are stuck in one particular direction, your rib cage is usually making an adjustment, and your head is as well. So just being, again, aware of that, feeling your footprints into the floor, and then coming back to the center. One more thing I want you to think about as a rider is the placement of your ribs. Actually, I got two more things, but this is the next one. So stacking your ribs over your pelvis like dinner plates, right? You want to think of each rib stacked up over your pelvis with the crown of your head reaching for the ceiling. Good. Now, if you can see yourself in the mirror, and I'm going to demonstrate this for you, if you drop your arms to your side, there's something that we like to refer to as your arm window. It's the space between your arm and your torso. And what you'll start to notice is one side is more concave than the other, right? So for me, it's this side, if I exaggerate it, right? And so I tend to glide my ribs over here to compensate for what I like to do with my feet and pelvis. So I just want you to start now to glide your ribs side to side. Think about the opposite sits bone stays anchored, right? So that you're creating a diagonal reach in your body. Sound familiar, horseback riders? Good, and reach. And you'll see how much smaller that comes. Now again, we all have a tighter diagonal, right? The body really moves all in spirals, but for learning purposes, we're going to think of it like a diagonal. Good. And then come back to the center again. And then notice the placement of your head. So we want to feel like we're lengthening through the front of our neck, right? So the back of the muscles, there should be no wrinkles, right? And at any point when you start to feel your head drift forward, it means that your shoulders are rolling. You're going to drop your ribs and begin to collapse. So feeling that lengthening sternum is lifted, the front of the neck is active and keeping your head in place and breathing. Good. Now Betsy and I are just going to bounce for a moment, and you can join us because that gets to be a lot of intense work, believe it or not. If you're doing it, you know. Now come back to the center and hold again and find your breath. So let's try to put all that together a little bit so that as you're sitting on your horse or you're just exercising the next time, this is actually basic Pilates fundamentals, folks. We can use it for every single sport you do. Every movement of life. It's really about finding an efficient way of moving with ease throughout your day. Horseback riding just happens to be my favorite way to do it. So, coming back to finding your breath, you're going to feel that moving down of your pelvic floor. And then on your exhale, you're going to feel it moving up. Good. Making good connection with your feet. Feeling both sits bones on the ball. Noticing your ribs stacked over your pelvis. Good. Letting your shoulder blades roll down the back of your rib cage, lifting the crown of your head towards the ceiling. We're going to think about those diagonals as we do a little balance exercise. So we're going to drop your arms to the side, and you're going to lift your opposite arm and leg. So here is our diagonals at work. You're going to reach into the opposite sits bone to glide your ribs to the side. And you will start to notice which side is your favorite. This one for me. This one's harder. Good. Keep going. You can pick the pace up a little bit. Betsy's working hard over here. She's trying really hard. And then come back into the center. Awesome. So again, this is directed at my fellow horseback riders, but for everyone. If you would like to know more, please visit us, PilatesConnectionWinchester.com. We'd love to talk about what we do. And of course, I'd love to talk to my riders. See you soon.